Hello, hi. I am going to show you how I took this sketch and turned it into this. As you can see, it looks a little different than how I originally sketched it out, but I kept the same concepts that I wanted to apply in terms of design principles. So I kept it super simple. I texturized the flat icons, contrasted the colors, and added a gradient as well as center lined everything. So even though it's a little bit different than what I had originally planned out, it still looks really nice, and it's okay if your original plans are going to change. And they usually will once you get into Photoshop. So first things first, um, this is just reference. I'm going to start a new file, so it might not look exactly the same, but it'll be the same steps that I use. Usually when I choose the dimensions for Photoshop, I want to go with a square just because it's easy to manipulate if you need it to be different dimensions, and Instagram is square. That's probably the big reason why. Um, but yeah, so I usually like to go big because it's easier for like quality wise. If I want to shrink it, it won't look bad. Um, so this is the first thing I'm beginning with, and I usually like to just add another layer if I want to use the background. But the first thing that I did actually was try, and because my focal point was this grandpa flower graphic flat icon I had in my head. And I was looking around for the right flat icon, and I couldn't really find it on flaticon.com, so I went to FreePic. And FreePic is pretty awesome. They have a lot of vectors and photos, all under Creative Commons. You just need to give them the correct attribution. So what I did was I typed in grandparents, and you get all these different vectors, which are really cool to choose from. They're really cute. They're so cute. Yeah, and I liked this the best. So you can look around, whatever, and you see free download, free license with attribution. So as long as you credit free pick, they won't sue you. And I actually credited them super duper tiny right here at the very bottom. um, if you are posting this like online, you can put it in the terms and use on a website, or like at the very bottom. Like, it doesn't have to be in the image, but if this is getting printed, they ask you to put designed by FreePic at the very bottom, or wherever, just somewhere on the graphic. So I put it super tiny so that you don't notice it that much, but it's still an attribution. So I'm gonna free download, and the cool thing about FreePic and Flat Icon is they provide the attribution, so it's not super hard to use. So you can just write, this is for a website, so if you can, it's best to link it, but if not, then you just put designed by FreePic. So free, blah blah blah, just waiting on it. So I'm gonna save that. So let's see. Here. So you can also, usually if something's up for grabs, it'll say how to attribute it. And if not, they messed up. So this is for a website, tree vector designed by, and then if it's for print, you could just write designed by FreePic. But I wanted to specify it because I made changes to it. And I'm not using the whole tree, I'm just using the grandma. So I put grandma vector designed by FreePic on my thing. Yeah. So we go into here, And I already set this EPS file. EPS files are supposed to be open into Illustrator, but you guys are not using Illustrator, so oops, you have to actually extract it. So extract all. And so I'm going to take the EPS file, which is the vector file, and open it with Photoshop. And maybe I'll just make it a little bit bigger, 1000 by 1000. And this is where I'm going to use the magnetic lasso tool. So I hope you guys really watched the videos and got the basics, because I'm not going to go over how to the nitty-gritties of all the tools. But I'll show you the new tools that I use. So I just want the grandma, and I'm going to take this and just copy. Actually, you know what? I just realized I did it. I could do it much easier. I can actually go in and trace the grandma how I want it. Because I just want the grandma. Copy and paste. Oh, so cute. So cute. And so I'm going to do Control T, Shift, and pull on the edge. And here's my grandma. She's so cute. Well, you can see the edges are kind of messed up, and I guess that's why I did it the other way before. But this is okay. You'll see how to use different tools. But I'm just going to do this again because I don't like how I got messed up. So copy and paste. And what I'm going to do so that it's nice and clean is I'm going to take the magic wand tool. You can press W. And I'm selecting that, I'm going to delete. I'm selecting this green thing, I'm going to delete. So there you go. And just to make sure, I'm going to take the eraser tool and just to be sure. There we go. So now my grandma is nice and clean. Gonna make her a little bit bigger. Oops. Sorry, grandma. Alright, make her a little bit bigger. How I like it. And there we go. Also, for alignment purposes, these are the rulers. These are your friends. So you can right click and see if you want it in inches or in pixels, whatever. And you can drag your alignment. And usually it locks to the center. So like it locked to 600 because it's 1200 by 1200. So 600. So I know where to put grandma. So there she is. And you press Control semicolon to bring it out, and Control R to bring out your rulers. So back to grandma over here. I like this a lot, and at this point I was gonna look back at my sketch.
Oh,
Oh! Thomas just came in.
oh sorry.
Okay.
I didn't know you were recording.
No, it's okay. Well, now I'm going to look for a flower icon. Bye, Thomas. I'm in the Everett office, so what's up? Anyways, flower icon. Another cool place that you can go to is Pixabay. Thomas actually told me about this site, and you don't need to attribute anything, which is tight. So I can just go into flowers. I want a flower. They have images. I don't really want an image though, so I'm gonna go to vectors. Keep the vector theme going on, you know, nice and consistent. And honestly, these are free, so they're not like the best, but if you look around, you can find a lot of stuff you can manipulate, and that's what I'm going to do. So I remember, and it takes some time to find these things, so I'm finding this fast because I already know what I used and what I wanted. It took me a little while though. So I wanted this one right here. Tulips, they're cute, you know. So free download. And see, free commercial use, no attribution required. And you can choose which dimensions you want it. I'm going to go with the big one because please log in for full resolution images. Okay, never mind, I don't want the big one. I guess I'll take the medium. I forgot. Alright. Yep. And got that. And you can drag and drop this straight up in here. And I'm going to make it smaller. Oops. Paste. No. Control Shift Z. Z. Damn. I'm so sorry, guys. I guess I'm just going to drop it in again. Okay. Shift. Pulling that in a little bit. There we go. So I want it right there. And as you see, layering is super important because this layer is on top of Grandma, which I should label. It's good to label. So since this layer is on top of that layer, you can't see it. But if you put it on top, there you go. Problem solved. And I'm just going to bring this out a bit again to make sure it's in the center. So I'm liking how this is going, but Grandma is kind of not standing out in the way that I want her to. So I'm going to take a shape tool and put it against her so that she kind of stands out. And you can, if you go back to the move tool, you can use your arrows to like move it over little by little. And you can also do Control T if you want the circle to be like a little bit wider. This is all on you. There we go. I think that looks okay. And if you go back to the shape tool, this is where you edit the fill and the stroke. Basically, the fill is what fills up the image, and the stroke is like the outline. And you can edit the stroke here, so you see the blue. But I don't really want you, so this means just no stroke or no fill, whatever you choose. And I liked it against white, so she pops out a little more. And yeah, so that's cool, right? So now I'm going to introduce to you blend modes. And blend modes are these guys right here. You can access it through this drop down. And it's basically a blending of how you blend a certain layer. So you could blend, I could blend the vector, Grandma, the flowers, or the ellipse tools. And these all mean different things. These usually are to darken, to lighten, and this is contrast. Multiply is used a lot, color burn, linear burn, screen, I use that one a lot, and overlay, and soft light. And these all do different things. So let me just show you. You can go to multiply, see, it's just gone now. Multiply's gone. So they all do different things up against different backgrounds. And I honestly don't really know the science behind this, but I play around a lot until I find something I like. And you can also mess around with the opacity of it. So hard light. See, they've got some cool stuff you can mess around with. But I'm gonna link a video more on blend modes if you want to dive deep into it. But I think I'm probably gonna lay off a blend mode for the ellipse and just Hi, sorry I got cut off. Anyways, blend modes. So, I'm gonna try to speed this up now. I didn't really like using a blend mode on this circle, so I'm just going to lower the opacity, kind of get the see-through feel, and then I think maybe we can try something out with the gamma vector. So just go through the different blend modes and see what you like. It really depends what what the image is up against. Since it's on a white circle, it's kind of like some of these things are really going to get lost when you put against like a screen or something that ups the exposure. So I really like this linear burn. I think it gives a contrast, and it also is kind of see-through. Like you could see the flowers behind her, but not too much. And I really like how that looks. So I'm going to keep it there. And now I want to pick a background color. I was originally going to keep it all white, but it looks too white with this circle behind it. So now I'm going to use the eyedropper tool to take already from what is here. And I really like this dark green. I think it's going to be nice to use to contrast with. So I'm going to take this hex code, copy that, and go to color.adobe.com. This thing is awesome. Use it. So you basically just put in your hex code and it gives you a color scheme, and you can choose from the different types of color schemes. Just re-enter the code, and now you have a triad. But I really like the complementary or the compound one, so I'm gonna stick with the compound. And I really like this color as background. I think it would look really good. But I kind of want it to be a little lighter or dustier even. And a good way to do that is to just bring these colored points in more. That kind of lightens up the shade. And I definitely want to use these other colors. This I think would be good for text. So I'm going to take this hex code, copy and paste. Ooh, actually, that looks, I guess we can see how it looks. Go to a paintbrush or paint bucket, add a new layer, and bring it all the way back. And I like it. And actually, I want to adjust it a little bit. So I could go back in and make it a little more, like it looks almost grayish. So maybe brighten it up a bit. I think that looks better. I don't even know if you can notice, but it's the little things, you guys, that matter. So, to make this a little more interesting, I want to add a gradient. There are a lot of different ways to add gradients. You can use this gradient tool, or you can use a gradient map right here. Ooh, where to go? Gradient map. And adjust it like this, so you can choose all these different things. And adjust it. I'm going to link a video that goes more into detail. But for this purpose, I really like doing fill layers. So, layer and a new fill layer. I'm going to gradient. And it will affect everything after it. So if I were to put it up here, it affects the flowers. And if I put it on the top, it would affect everything. You see how it's doing a gradient thing? I just want the background to have a gradient. So if you double click right here, it's at linear. But I want it to be radial. And you can't really see the gradient because it's going into transparent. And I'm going to edit that and add a stop. So you can just click right here. And I want it to be white. So you see how it just brightened up in the center where grandma and the flowers are? Looks good, right? You can also use different colors. So like if I wanted like a pink, then you can do that. So now it's kind of like almost like a blush. But I really like the white, so I'm just going to keep it at white. but that's how you can change it. And then you can really get super fancy with how you want to gradient your image, so you can delete and whatnot. But that's how I use it for this. And it's super simple. You can also mess around with angled. You see how it's right here is angled. And you can mess around with where it's angled, reflecting. It kind of goes in a diagonal way. And yeah, just play around with it. See what you like. I will link videos. So I really like how the background is looking now. And to even make this more contrasted and make everything pop out more, I'm going to add a level. So you go to levels, and I want the whole image to be affected. So I'm going to have it at the very top. And the way you break this down is kind of, these are your dark tones, mid-tones, and high tones, like highlights, dark spots in the middle. So depending on where you drag it, the brighter or darker it'll be. And this just, I also, again, I'm not an expert at all of these things, but I know how to use them, and I know how to play around. So I usually just play around until I come up with something that I like. I think this looks good. Good enough for me, anyway. And now I'm going to add some text to this. Right. So I'm going to go to the text tool. And my message was that our elderly deserve more than just a room. So, I'm going to change the color, but just so you can see. Our elderly deserve more than just a room. Okay. For some reason, my file Photoshop is weird and my punctuation gets all messed up. Okay, so I like that, right? And I already looked through the fonts that I like, and I really like Georgia for this graphic. So I'm going to center align that. And there we go. Kind of make it centered. And let's go back to our color scheme and use this color for the text. So go back in and use that. Nice. It looks good. So just a quick text overview. This is where you get your fonts. This is where you italicize, bold it. This is your how large it is, how you align it. And if you want to get down to the nitty-gritty, if you go to the character window, and you can access that here if it's not open. Character window, you can go to the tracking, which is how far apart they will be, or the space in between the letters. I'm just going to keep it like that. This stretches it out. So if I do 200, it'll look like that. You know, there's a lot of different things we're going to get into later on. But for now, I think you're fine with just this. And to wrap it all together, I'm going to give a link of where you can find more information, right? I'm going to make it a little bit smaller. And there we go. And also, because this is kind of a smaller detail, I'm going to give it another color, maybe this one right here. Copy and go here, paste it, and I want it to be a little darker, so bring it down a bit, and there you go. It looks pretty, looks good. So that looks good. It actually looks super small. So I'm going to make it a little bit bigger so you can actually see it. And I need my rulers. So I'm just doing this super quickly now. And there you go. Also, you want to remember to give the attribution. So let's write really small. Grandma Vector designed by Free Pick. So once again, like, just be conscious of what kind of licensing it is. In the lesson, it goes more into detail, so you can be sure that you are attributing correctly. Now that I'm looking at this, it seems kind of down, like it's not in the center, it's way more down. So you can select all of this. So I want everything except the background and the attribution. So hold down shift, and I can move all of these layers. Bring it up a little bit more. Now it looks more centered. And ta-da! There is a graphic ready to go and be posted. It's not the same. Oh, I forgot to do one thing. I wanted to texturize this. And let me show you filters. Sorry, guys. But, yeah, I wanted to texturize the icons. So, I think I like it better with the flowers texturized. So, let me show you quickly how to do that. You can go into Filter and Filter Gallery to look at all of these different textural things you can do. And they give you all of these options you can do with it. Stained glass, like this is kind of cool. But yeah, there's so many different things that you can do. And yeah, it just depends on like playing around with what you like, and brush strokes maybe. Like that looks kind of cool, right? But I really liked this grain going on, so that's what I stuck with. You can adjust the intensity of it, but look through this filter gallery and just play around. And yeah, pretty straightforward. You can also access filters through blurring and all that stuff, but I'm going to go more into that in another lesson. Yeah, so that's how I added a textural component to it. And I think it looks really nice. It's like a small touch, but it looks good to me. So I hope this is useful for you. And one other tip I can just show you is if you don't want it to be so texturized, you can add another layer, the same layer, and add a blending mode to it. So multiply or even lighten or screen. That looks kind of, ooh, that looks really nice actually. I like that. And you can mess up the opacity to like really, this looks better than my other one. That looks better. This looks better. I like it. Anyway, now that I'm looking at this, now that this got brighter, I want to make the background a little bit darker. So, oops. Oh man, why isn't it making what I want it to? Like maybe like that. Or, yeah, so now it pops out a little bit more. I think it looks really good. So, this is just how I took one of my sketches into Photoshop. Yeah, so taking these little scribbles and turning it into this. I hope that it was useful for you and that you have fun turning your sketches into life. Email me if you need any help, and I will link a bunch of tutorials on these tools that I've used. Yeah, have fun.